Welcome to Apothecary After Dark.
Welcome to Apothecary After Dark. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Dina. We're the co-owners of Amityville Apothecary. You ever wonder what happens when we shut off the lights and lock the doors of Amityville Apothecary? What we talk about when nobody's around? What we think about all things metaphysical and witchy? Well, stay tuned because we have some really fun topics for you. Welcome to Apothecary After Dark. I am Dina, co-owner of the Apothecary, and I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Danny. I am Danielle, but people call me Danny. So we're going to talk about all things spiritual and metaphysical, and we're glad you're here with us.
Right. What do we talk about when the lights are off, the shades are drawn, and nobody is in the shop? So let's get into it.
Gonna have fun.
So we're thinking about, wouldn't it be fun if we talked about somebody that's new to spirituality, spiritual practice, personal development, witchcraft, witchiness, whatever you want to call it. We don't care what you call it. But it doesn't matter. You're walking in here for the very first time. You're probably going to be overwhelmed, right? There's a lot, at any store. If it's not our store, it's somebody else's shop. You could potentially be overwhelmed. And this is for your help and your betterment. So what our suggestions and recommendations would be for the newbie. But I'm sure if you are an expert, there's going to be something you can get from this episode too. So don't be so fast to write us off.
Yeah, when people come into our shop, we have a little bit of novice and beginner interest all the way up to the experienced interest. So I tend to say that we're kind of like cruise ship directors to guide your experience. So when you come in, we could be as hands-off as you want, or we can just start from the beginning and help with the education of your journey, because it can be definitely overwhelming. And our goal is just to help you take baby steps, and then the path meanders and takes you in directions that you usually don't even anticipate.
Right. So it's really interesting because both of us, even though we're co-owners, our paths have been very different how we started, but they've crisscrossed as we sort of made our way along in this journey. So you might come in here because you've heard about spirit guides, or you've heard about working with crystal energy, or you've heard about tarot cards and you want to get a reading from a practitioner. All of those ways of starting your practice are valuable. There's no one way to start on your spiritual and or metaphysical.
Yeah, unless you're talking about a closed practice or an initiated practice, there's no right or wrong way to do things. So our goal is to help debunk things that people may have heard, or some perceptions or misconceptions that they might have, and just kind of break it down in a very simple and approachable way, so that, sometimes people are like, I just feel like this is a stupid question. Like, there's not really stupid questions for the most part. We might rib you a little bit because we like to have fun with you.
Right, of course.
But really, if you don't know, how could you be expected to know something that you've never learned before? So the point is, you can just come in and learn a little bit, and then gain some tools and some education and go from there. So for example, like me, I have always worked with the angels very closely, just naturally and intuitively. It's something that resonates very closely with me. And I have always been, what I now know is defined as clairsentient, that I have extrasensory perceptions, and I'm very sensitive to feeling energy, and it's touch. So when you talk about the different clairs, it represents extrasensory sensitivity for your senses. So clairsentience is touch, claircognizance is knowing, clairvoyance is seeing, clairaudience is hearing. There's different terms that could be used for smelling, and
we always forget what that's.
I know it's something. I'll picture the name of it, but I don't have that one. Clairaudient is sound, so that also.
Although you don't have that one, but haven't we all been in a situation where we walked into a room and maybe smelled? We've both done it, where you smell cigarette smoke or cigar smoke or a crossover loved ones, perfume. So maybe we don't have it all the time, but I think a lot of us have had glimmers of those experiences. Right?
Totally.
Because we have a house ghost. And sometimes he's smoking upstairs.
Yeah.
And we'll go upstairs and we'll say, "Ooh, you smell that? Morris is smoking cigarettes."
Totally.
Right? So that's something. I mean, I've experienced my grandfather always smoked Captain Jack Gold pipe tobacco. And it has a very distinct smell.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I feel like I get a little wink and a whiff or something like that.
I like that.
Yeah, it's like, well, so you, but I know you've done it too.
Yeah, I have. And it's so funny because what I would say, I think it's like a muscle. First of all, everybody has certain players that are stronger than others. Mm-hmm. So my strongest ones have always historically been claircognizance and clairsentience, which makes sense because I gravitated naturally towards Reiki, which is energy healing. And like, people come in and they say, "Oh, I'm an empath." Well, we all have empathic abilities, and it means that you have extra sensitivity to the energy and emotions, and you pick up on those subtle energies. So some have a stronger ability to sense that, but you have to learn how to differentiate what's your energy versus others. And then there are tools and tricks of the trade to like protect yourself, just so that you can differentiate, like, oh, I can empathize, but it's not my energy to take on. And those are the types of topics and tricks that we cannot teach you. But I think clairvoyance is one that you have, because like you'll be talking about things and you're like, "Who's the dude in the sweater vest?"
Yeah, I it's so funny because I feel that Danielle has so much more language around what these gifts are called. I really don't have the language around it, just like I also rely on Danielle because we share the same birthday to tell me things about our pretty much shared astrological chart. Because, and this was the point, like, and this is what I was starting off with, is that what you gravitate towards and what sort of sinks into your brain might be different. Danielle's really good with knowing those terms and knowing astrology and knowing things like that. For whatever reason, it just doesn't it doesn't integrate in me for some strange reason. I could never remember them. But what I do know is that, yeah, I might be talking to somebody or performing crystal healing or Reiki, even though I say I don't do that, but I do that. And I'll get a complete picture of somebody's crossed over loved one in my mind, what they're wearing, something that they would say would come into my head, all sorts of weird things like that. But only when I'm tuned into the person's energy and in a place where I want to receive it, which is something that is important to learn. That it's not like you're going to be in this space to acquire this information all the time. I mean, unless you like Teresa Computer or something, who is amazing. We sort of work really can.
Yeah. Well, and I think permissions are important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can't be tapping into other people's energy without their permission.
Come on, that's like psychic niceness 101. It's so funny. Sometimes, we have a mutual friend, and I'm not going to call him out by name, but he'll come in. He's very gifted, very psychic, and he was doing a guest spot with us one day, and I walk in, he's like, "What's going on? Your energy seems off," and I'm like, "We're not doing that today." I didn't tell you to tell me that I feel like crap. I know that I'm feeling like crap. You know what I'm saying?
No, not today.
We're not doing that today. I would sit in your chair as a customer if I wanted you to tell me. So, yeah, that's important. It's really important. But, it's all about those things that you want to learn more about, like follow the breadcrumbs, right? So Danielle always talks about being in nature as a kid.
Love it.
And how that's something that still continues to ground you. Mm-hmm. And that's still something that continues to direct your practice, right?
It's core to it. It's how I find inspiration. It's also how I ground myself. I go out in nature, I spend time. And then I had a spirit reading, and it makes perfect sense that Cernunnos is one of my core spirit guides in life. And I'm like, yeah, of course. The horned, wise, old spirit of the forest. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I think it inherently is something that we know in our soul. And often as we grow and we become desensitized by culture, we tend to put those things off to the side, because astrology was also one of those things I was always very drawn to. But I kind of put it off when I became a grown up. But then that was part of reinvigorating my interest and my hobbies. I started re-exploring astrology and taking Reiki classes so that I could learn, because it helped me so much.
Right.
And it all just naturally, intuitively came back. So when people say, like, well, how did you get into it? I inherently was already doing this stuff. And I'm sure that you, as our listeners, like, also have gravitational pull towards, you know, if you work with herbs, or if you really love crystals and you're drawn to specific things, that's your body's higher self saying, like, hey, go explore this more, because it feels natural to you.
Right. Those things that light you up, that are fun, that bring you back to joy, are those things that you should start exploring. You know, I want to debunk a myth that I hear a lot. People ask, can I buy my own tarot cards?
Yes.
You can absolutely buy your own tarot deck.
Yes.
You know, people say, is that bad luck? Is it good luck? Is it no luck? I don't necessarily really believe in luck. I believe in frequency. So if you're going to comment something and say, oh, it's bad for me to do this, then you're going to have like a crap experience.
Yeah.
You know? But it's, I think, you know, you could buy your own tarot decks. You could buy your own mystical and magical tools. They don't need to be gifted to you. I think a lot of that started with, you know, we talked about in the beginning, closed practices, which I think we should probably circle back on, because that's a big question that people ask. But believe it or not, back in the day, when sort of like modern mysticism that we sort of now know it first started, when tarot decks started coming into popularity, it was really for wealthy people, because printing was expensive. And a lot of these societies where they practiced tarot cards and divination also had to be secret, because you didn't want to cross the nose hairs, I'll say it, the PG version, of the Holy Roman Catholic Church. You might find yourself on a pot here, right? So these days,
a little underground occult studies.
So because of that, there were societies, there were initiations, there were exactly. And so a teacher, similar to a grimoire, a teacher or a coven might have this book of magical practices, and as an initiate to that practice, you'll be allowed to copy down their information. And the same with tarot. So I think that's where part of it comes from, that you have to be gifted, just like you have to be handed down tradition. But because of, you know, the age of Aquarius and the internet age, and knowledge being like our thing in our society right now, I think that's sort of.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would be in big trouble if I waited for people to gift me decks.
Nobody has a deck collection like Danielle.
Oh, wow. Because I'm so drawn to specific art or specific messages. I have those steps that I go to as like my core. But then, you know, if I'm doing a relationship reading, there's specific decks that I'll pull for that. Or if I just really want to connect with the animals, I'll pull from that. So I think it's just really a beautiful thing to trust your higher power. And I say, when people come in, like, I don't know where to begin, I'm overwhelmed. It's just, if you feel yourself being drawn to something, just go with it, feel it, handle it, see if it feels natural to you, because that is your intuition guiding you to what your body needs or wants, or, you know, pointing you in the direction of your northern star, I would say.
I love that. And then, you know, to touch on closed practices, you know, Danielle is a Reiki master teacher, and Reiki is a closed practice.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So what it means is that I have sought out and invested in extensive amounts of training. I found my Reiki master that I wanted to learn the practice from, because it's closed, it's secret, if you will, that there are techniques and protocols and ways to lay your hands. So Reiki means universal life force energy. It's energy that surrounds us in the universe. But energy can neither be created nor destroyed, just transmuted. That's laws of physics. So it just helps move stagnant energy from your body. And it's like an energetic reboot. It's very rebalancing and recalibrating. So I knew that I wanted to learn from a mentor that had the most extensive traditional training as possible. So I would go up to New Hampshire and do my studying under her. She was 6 degrees. She's 5 degrees. I'm 6 degrees from the founder of Usui Reiki, who is Master Usui. And he trained somebody else who trained somebody else who trained Lourdes' husband, and I was trained by Lourdes. So it's like a very direct lineage. So I wanted to ensure that the way that I learned was as close as possible to the inception of that practice. Right. So it was years of study, years of practice, and a lot of investment as a professional. So it's
and an attunement.
And a series of attunements that are secret, and you learn it as you go. So it's not that anybody can just say like, woo, 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 I'm a Reiki master. Like it just doesn't work that way. Right. And actually, as part of the closed practice, you're not even supposed to write the secret symbols. They should never be written for teaching purposes. They can be written, but then they need to be destroyed. So like if you see things and they're like, the symbols of Reiki, like you shouldn't even be having like books publicly, but whatever. That's a different conversation. But that's what a closed practice is. Like Samantha, we'll have her talking in the future. She is a trained and initiated death witch.
Which sounds so scary, but it's really not.
But she's been starting to learn her practice at the age of 11 years old. It runs in her family's line, and then she's been learning extensively and training under other trained and initiated death witches. It means she took a vow, and I'll let her talk about it, but she took a vow for helping earthbound souls cross over in their path, whatever they're doing. So, that's a very close practice with extensive, and if you don't know what you're doing, don't mess with it.
Right. But that's actually like a general rule, I think, for magical, metaphysical practice is don't be working with spirits you don't understand. And don't be inviting stuff into your home that you don't know how to get out.
If you're not protected, you don't have proper protection.
Right.
It's a big part of this type of practice.
Right. Yeah. So, for me, I'm not as steeped in Reiki as Danielle. I do have what's called a level 2 attunement, which I have really no desire to go any further because me and rules, thanks to my Scorpio midheaven, structure don't work well. So I'm more of a chaotic practitioner, which Danielle is the opposite. What's your North Node again?
My North Node is in Scorpio. It's in the 11th house.
Okay, so
it's working with groups.
Right. So it's slightly nuanced. Like mine is a little bit more like
yours is career.
Yeah. So it's a lot like, to quote Rage Against the Machine, I feel I would do what you tell me, which is one of my all-time favorite bands. It's like my life's motto. I was like, yes, I love this song. And again, that's what's, circling back to the beginning of our conversation, it's so important to know what type of person you are and what makes sense for you. Because if something feels unnaturally, like Danielle's practice would feel restrictive to me, my practice would feel unsafe to her.
Yeah, I like the foundation.
You see what I mean? Like it would feel completely unsafe.
You're an incredible energy healer, but then you'll not only use your Reiki practice, but then you'll layer somebody's body filled with crystals from your crystal healing certification. And then you'll bang gongs on them because you're also certified and trained in sound. So like your experience is entirely different than mine.
But that's the point. But it's different. There's no one right path. Yeah. There's no one right way. It has to do with you having first and foremost an understanding of who you are as a person and what makes you feel comfortable. You came to this journey, I hope, to become more self-aware and more self-actualized, feel more comfortable in your human skin, to try and make sense. Teaser, you're never going to make sense of it. Of what this human experience is. Still, again, you're never going to know.
But both healing, like if you were a patient of mine, or I don't say patient, if you were a client of mine, you were receiving a treatment, because your body is the one that's the healer.
Correct.
I'm just a practitioner. I'm like this funnel that the energy travels through. But a client of yours, both would have profound experiences in their own right. They would be so entirely different.
Absolutely.
But like if I tried to do it your way, it would be so unnatural and like it wouldn't work. So if somebody tried to practice like in my fashion without like training and having that feel natural to them, it just wouldn't work either.
Right.
So like we just try to help people find what works for them and say like, oh, you really feel connected to nature? Well, let's look into like shamanism and like maybe look at your paganism practices. And then other people might be like, I need to make spell jars and I want to learn about potions. And like that's more traditional witchcraft, steeped in like magic with
but just because it's witchcraft, it could be like lowercase witchcraft or uppercase witchcraft. Uppercase witchcraft is more like that's your religious practice.
High magic.
And high magic is something completely different. So like literally, these are all like, let's like write lists of all topics we're going to be talking about as we move through this podcast.
Yeah.
So you don't have to feel like you're confined to a title. Your practice is uniquely yours and yours alone, and it's meant for you. Yeah. It's not meant for me. It's not meant for Danielle. It's not meant for anybody. And it certainly isn't meant for social media. It's meant to make you feel better, right? It's not performative or anything like that.
It's all personal growth.
Yep.
And part of your journey, as well as learning about your ancestors and tapping into the sound node stuff, all of the gifts that you bring into this lifetime incarnation, because you come into this world with gifts and knowledge, like that knowingness of things that like, why do I know this? I don't know. It's just intuitive to me. Well, okay, it's probably trapped in your Akashic records somewhere from past lifetimes.
Right.
And that's a whole other subject about past life regressions and healing. But
Danielle loves past lives. I could give a crap. A crap about past lives.
It makes so much sense. I'm like, it explains a lot.
Yeah.
But that's not true, because dreams, you have recall.
Yeah, I do. I did have a past life experience in a dream. And there are some, it's so funny, the things, I was a history major, the history topics that like, I either have like visceral reactions to or what have you, are like the ones in which I've had past lives. And like, it's like centered on World War II and the Civil War. Crazy stuff, but we'll talk about that another time. But as far as like the minutia of, not the minutia, it's like that. That's like a mean word. And I'm not saying I don't give a crap about it. I do give a crap about it. I don't want to ever belittle somebody's, how people feel about their practice or like what's important to them.
Yeah.
But I'm so into being a better human being. And as long as your past life information informs your present day, it's amazing to help you. Sometimes people use past life stuff to excuse present life crap that they should be fixing. That's when I get annoyed.
And also, when it's like astrology is a bad excuse. I hate that. So there are certain astrological zodiac signs that get a bad rap, and I think every astrological sign has its strengths as well as its shadows that need to be improved upon.
Improvement.
But like that's the point of becoming a better version of yourself in this lifetime. So when people are just like, I can't help it, I'm a blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, no, you're just a jerk. And it's like,
you can help it.
Do better. You're making a choice. So like, don't use it as a crutch. Use it to inform and to understand interpersonal relationships about others and yourself. And then use that to become a more evolved human. So, I mean, that's really what we're doing here, helping with healing and growth.
What's the number one important thing, in my opinion, for spiritual practice? Self-awareness.
I like that.
Self-awareness.
Yeah.
And it really, I'm like, look, self-awareness in all aspects of life, whatever it is that you want to do, career, anything.
Yeah.
But like self-awareness is so important because, again, You want to be a better person. You want to have a better human experience. Everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be valued for who they are.
And surrounded by like-minded people who
Right.
are going to lift you up.
Right.
So I think that community, that learning from others, that providing books and a wealth of knowledge for people to, educate and inform their journey, classes to help connect you with other people, as well as put things into tangible practice and providing tools to be able to help them are all critical parts as spokes of the wheel. So I just think in life, so many times people can fall victim to not my fault I'm like this. Well, no, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to take corrective steps towards becoming a better version of yourself, because let that inform you and educate you to do better or to change your circumstances so you don't continue to repeat those cycles.
You're a lot nicer about it than I'm going to be, because I'm about to say you are the common denominator of your life's experience.
Amen.
So if you're not liking your life's experience, you have the power and the agency to take steps. It's not going to be an overnight thing, but to take steps to try and change it, right? And that's what we hope getting involved in metaphysical, getting involved in spiritual, getting involved in the magical will do for every single person.
Sovereignty. And I'm having a lot of fun as we do it.
Exactly.
That's it. Thank you for spending time with us.
We're going to bring on Samantha. She is our in-house tarot reader, which she's a practicing death witch, which we're not getting into today.
She makes amazing oils.
Oh, yeah.
She's an alchemist, steeped in knowledge. You guys are going to love her.
But we're going to have her talk about, you have spiritual tools. What are some great starter spiritual tools? How to start working with them. And, you're a newbie. What are the critical items that we think and she thinks you should bring into your practice to get started with?
Enjoy. Okay, so when it comes to keeping your energy safe, protected, keeping everything out, there's tons of different methods. And really, it's up to you what clicks best with you, your energy, what's best for your situation. You might be somewhere that doesn't allow smoke. That's where sprays are involved. Maybe you're someone who's really sensitive to smells, or maybe you're not a fan of the way they smell. That's what crystals are for. So we're going to start over here with things you can burn. I started with a rosemary bundle. Rosemary is so good for cleansing and purifying. Italian folk magic. This is gold. So rosemary is going to keep your energy safe, secure. It's going to keep all those bad energies out. Also, Palo Santo. Naturally purifying. It even is known to purify just the air quality around it. So imagine what it does for the energy in the situation. And finally, one that's slept on a lot, and my personal favorite, is cinnamon. Cinnamon's very protective, honestly, aggressively so, because it's connected to fire. It's also going to bring in abundance. So kill two birds with one stone, protect yourself, make some money. Then down to oils and sprays. Sprays, these are great. You can just through the whole house and space. This is our Medusa spray. This one's a little nastier. This one's for harsh protections. Medusa don't let people in her cave. We don't let people in our house. So Medusa's really good for that one. The protection oil, this can go on yourself, on your windows, doorways. You can put it on candles before you burn it. This has basically all the stuff you burn, but in essential oils mixed with a carrier oil, like jojoba oil or olive oil, which, if you go deeper into them as well, also have their own individual properties. Olive oils also, again, linked with fire and sun, so it's a little bit more intense. That's the one we use in the protection one. Finally, Florida water. This one, you can stick this in a cauldron. Watch your eyebrows. It'll go up. It'll burn. And this is great just to burn. This is great to wash your floors with, wash your spaces with. I'll mix this with a little bit of water and wipe down my counters. It smells amazing because it originally was used as a perfume. Florida water is used by so many different cultures across the board for cleansing, clearing. It gives you kind of like a clean slate. It's like spiritual hand sanitizer. Then, down to our crystals. This is going to come down to personal preference. Some people like tumbles, some people like stones, some people like generators that you can stab people with. It's really up to you. Now, what crystal you're using, again, totally up to you. So this one right here, this is black obsidian. Black obsidian is a mirror. It's a reflection. I am rubber, you are glue. We all learned this in kindergarten. Anything that comes is going to bounce back. So if you're currently dealing with a lot of evil eye or negative energy, maybe you want people to, lay in the bed they're making, obsidian is really good for that. Black tourmaline is just a brick wall. If you don't even feel like dealing with it, black tourmaline is great. Finally, my personal favorite, anyone who works with me will see me at the end of the day. Like, we have a giant smoky quartz. I'll just take it and just be fun lying down somewhere with it. Smoky quartz is like a charcoal cleanser. It's going to strip and pull. It's still going to allow energy in, but like a net, it's going to catch any gunk or ick that you kind of don't want. This one's really good for psychics, really good for people who want to stay connected and stay open, but maybe don't want their people's trauma all up in their energy all the time, every day. Also, one last thing that we don't have here in front of us, beanies, hair binding, veils, covering, tie your hair, wash it all the time, as much as your hair will allow. Our hair in so many cultures is known to soak up energy, trauma, memories. Be careful with it. Treat it well. If you know you're going into a stressful situation, pop a beanie on, pop a veil on. There's a bunch of different ways to cover your hair. Also, just pop it in a ponytail with intention. As long as you're putting your hair up or back or covering it with the intention of keeping other people's ick out, you're probably on to a good start. Okay, and yeah, so that's really it for me. I'm Samantha. I'm the in-house witch tarot reader. I'm here Mondays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So if you're looking for more information, if you want a tarot reading, if you want a one-on-one lesson, if you just want me to do the damn thing for you, you can really catch me at any of those times, and I'd be happy to help you out.
All right. Well, I think that wraps everything up for today. Thank you so much for listening to us. We really appreciate you.
Make sure you subscribe to us. We're streaming all of our future episodes, as well as this one, on all streaming platforms. And hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all at Amityville Apothecary.